Hello there! I was just browsing Twitter recently and I saw this very interesting trending hashtag in Japan. The hashtag is basically share your workstation pictures, and some of the Japanese modelers were really kind enough to share how they set up their modeling workbench for the rest of the world to see. There was actually quite a lot of interesting things that I picked up in their pictures. Some of them you will see, I suppose, in every Gunpla modeler's workbench. Some I think are quite unique to Japan, and also it gives us a glimpse of how most Gunpla builders would definitely have a very messy workbench like myself, and I will share our workbench setup with you guys very soon. I'm in the midst of tidying it up, but for now, let's have a look at how the Japanese modelers share their workbench setup. Some of them have very big rooms, such as this one, with a very awesome manga collection, and some have actually very small setup, but somehow they manage to make it look extremely tidy, neat, and everything has a place for itself. So it's very interesting. Now, before we get into this video, I've actually put up a picture of every single Plamodeler profile picture, and also their handle as well in the picture. So if you guys would like to know more about their build, their workstation, their setup, do go on to Twitter and follow them. Right now, some of the modelers actually have very common items that we spotted in their pictures, right? One of the common things that we spotted is having a lot of laptops, monitors, and PC, and even speakers. So I suppose a lot of modelers actually want to have something playing in the background when they're building, right? Whether they're watching a YouTube channel or watching a Gundam anime, we don't know, but it is something to keep you accompanying when you're building, right? Otherwise it's going to get very dull just to building a kit without any music or video in the background. So that was something that I spotted a lot of the Japanese Gunpla models have. Secondly, I think cutting mat is definitely a must-have. It's surprising, you might say, why do you mention the cutting mat? I think that is quite basic. Well, surprisingly, there are still some of you that I know that still build Gunpla kits or even general pla modeling kits without a proper cutting mat. So if you are one of those guys, please do yourself a favor and just spend a little bit of money to get a proper cutting mat. I think that would definitely help your desk to survive long hours of Gunpla and Plamo building. So that's very important, yeah. Secondly, I think as you can see from the video earlier, there were actually a lot of Japanese modelers that actually have dish dryers in their workbench setup. So we are probably wondering, hey, why do they need dish dryers? Well, obviously if you're in a colder climate where it's humid in the room and whatnot, your airbrush painting results may vary. So I think having a dish dryer in your room definitely helps to give you a better consistent drying effect for your kits that you paint over. And obviously with a dish dryer as well, the kits that you paint and airbrush over would definitely dry up a lot faster, especially in the cold climate. So that's something that I see a lot in these pictures that the Japanese modelers share. A lot of them actually has a dish dryer in their room, especially when they have an airbrush as well. Yeah, I think it is quite well known by now. If you want to build Gunpla or pla modeling in general, it is quite important to get a proper desk, right? Proper desk that is not just flimsy that you can move around, but something that you can actually put up your tools, your paints, and if somebody bumps over your table, you don't have to worry about everything falling all over the place. So a proper table, and also something that I can't stress enough, but I do also remember a lot of you guys actually build without proper lighting. So get some proper lights. I think if you can look at all the pictures that's been shared here by the Gunpla modelers, they actually have so much light on their workbench. It almost feels like these guys are actually doing a filming or even just taking toy photography. But for Plamo building, actually a lot of lights really do help so that your eyes don't stress too much, so you can actually build a little bit longer. Okay, one thing that a lot of people don't talk about when building your workbench setup is how important the chair is. If you can afford it, I would highly recommend building a, not building, sorry, I think buying a proper chair that you can just sit for 1 to 2 hours without struggling too much, getting too much heat. So a comfortable chair, as you can see here, some of the chairs that I've seen in this Japanese workbench setup video, man, their chairs looks very comfortable. I think more comfortable than mine, so I probably want to get one very soon. Now, before the end of the video, I will tell you what are my top 3 most favorite setup that I've seen from this trending hashtag. There was some amazing looking workbench that really gave me goosebumps, number 1, and it also gave me some inspiration of how maybe I want to, reshape my workbench to look like theirs. Not only do they look very neat, but they also look incredibly comfortable space, so I will actually share that at the end of the video. So stay tuned and find out what are my top 3 workbench setup, as we can see from the Japanese modular setup here. Now, one other thing that I noticed, which is very obvious from here on, is how messy most of the Japanese builders workbench looks like. And I think that's the same for quite a lot of builders around the world, because sometimes you're not just building one kit, right? You're building one kit halfway and then suddenly you lost interest and you probably want to build something else, a little bit of variation, and that is where you get some new kits. You put the old kit on the side and you start building a new kit. Then somehow another new kit comes along and you put your second kit that you're building halfway through as well. So your workbench is going to be messy, and I think that's how it looks like here as well with the Japanese builders. Interestingly as well, if you really look at the Japanese builders setup, some of them actually have a lot of kits that's been stashed in the background or on the shelf. So everything is, some of them are actually very neatly arranged. And I also noticed that some of them actually buy a lot of the same kit in 2 to 3 different boxes. So I suppose they actually buying multiple sets of the same kit for kit bashing, or creating their own very awesome looking Gunpla kit that's not known yet. So that is something that I don't see very often, right? Not many people will buy multiple sets of one kit unless they have a very strong idea of what they're going to build. So that's actually very interesting. One thing also that I noticed is photography booth. Surprisingly, some of them actually have a proper setup next to their workbench setup. So you will see that these guys, while they may actually have a very messy setup of a workbench, you have a paint, your Plamodel runners running everywhere, but they actually have a very neat and nice photography booth set up next to it to take the pictures of the creation. So that's something that I don't really see very often. So I think most of you guys probably will not have a proper photography booth set up next to your workbench. If you have, hey, do let me know. I could be wrong, but I have not seen that very often. Obviously, I think airbrush is quite a common tool for the Japanese builders here, as we've seen. In some countries like Southeast Asia, I think it's still not very common. I think still a lot of people are very new to this hobby and they're slowly getting into the habit of actually airbrushing their kit. So hopefully we'll get to see a lot more of us buying airbrushing and painting our kits. So it's going to be a little bit more intense when it comes to Gunpla competition and also GBWC for this region. One thing that I do note not many Japanese modelers have are actually mini fridges. So I do suppose that for those guys who actually have a mini fridge that is built into their workbench, they probably have very long marathon session when they're building, right? They're probably building for a few hours, only taking these short breaks to go to the toilet, but they actually eat and drink and build on the same desk. And I think that is probably one of the reasons why a lot of them actually have their PCs, laptops, and even monitors all set up right onto their workbench. That is basically where they hang out. It's sort of like their mini man cave, right? You build, you eat, you watch, you entertain yourself, all in the same place. So that's actually quite interesting. I think one of the most interesting setup that I've seen was this one setup where this guy actually was building directly next to his or her kitchen. Obviously the apartment is probably very small, so they don't have a proper workbench. So interestingly, by that account, they probably won't have enough space to do proper airbrushing setup. But for these modelers, he was actually very smart, right? He actually set up his airbrushing booth directly next to the kitchen, so he can actually output the fumes through the kitchen hob that is next to it. So the kitchen exhaust fan will actually take up all the fumes from his airbrushing, so it doesn't, you know, stain or stay in the living room. So that was actually quite unique. Now this is probably the only video that I've seen so far of someone actually taking a video to showcase their you know, their workbench, which when you look at it, wow, you know, not only does it have a very neat arranged setup with the shelf, it looks very simple, but they also have additional shelf to put up their gashapon displays, their Gunpla bills and dioramas. It looks amazing. So that is one thing that I'm actually very impressed with the Japanese modular setup, right? They actually have very proper system to build shelf, hangers, and even curtain rail rods to hang out all the different Gunpla builders parts, which I have not really seen many people doing it before. So there is actually a system where they build all these things, you know, maybe they buy from Daiso or IKEA. So I hope you guys will get some inspiration from looking at how these guys actually build their workbench, right? Some of them even have very clean slots to put up not only the paints, but also all different color markers and even the brushes. So it really looks amazing. So that is something that you know, you guys should definitely take inspiration from. I know I will. So I will be sharing my workbench with you guys very soon once I clear up my photo frame and whatnot. The thing that is starting to come out a lot more nowadays is, if you look at, some of them actually have 3D printers in their setup, and I thought that was actually quite interesting, because the moment you create your own part, you don't have to rely on, you know, buying different parts from different Gunpla kits. You can actually create something that is probably a little bit more unique than what you can get off the shelf that's produced by Bandai, Kotobukiya or Tamiya. So that is quite interesting, and I think once 3D printers prices start falling, probably a lot of more people will start getting into 3D printing and start printing their own parts. Of course, there's that cost of having to spend the time to design the part that you want, but it's an intriguing idea that would probably propel the Gunpla hobby forward. One other thing that I noticed a lot of the Japanese modelers actually have is a magnifying glass. So for me, I think it kind of makes sense. If you have issues with your eyesight, don't strain yourself, right? Get not only a proper lighting setup for your workbench, but also magnifying glass seriously will help you. I think no matter what your age is, even for myself, right, as much as I love to build the real great kits, sometimes those parts are bugger small. It's really hard to see, it's really hard to build, and having a magnifying glass definitely helps. So don't be ashamed, you know, if you can afford it, get one. And by now, I'm sure you guys will probably be playing, you know, Where's Wally kind of a quiz for everything that I've mentioned earlier in terms of fridges, photography booth, dish dryer, comfortable chair, proper lighting, having a speaker and monitor setup. You will probably have seen quite a lot of them by now. You know, as I'm rambling on and on, you guys are enjoying this very interesting and intimate look at all the different Gunpla and Plamodelers. And I think the one thing that I've been stressing for the longest time is, if you are a Gunpla builder and you've been building Gunpla kits all this while, do try building other kits. I think, as you can see from some of the workbench setup that have been shared by the Japanese modelers here, they've also shown what kind of kits they've been building and stashed in their hideout. So they don't just build Gunpla kits, guys. They actually have a lot of other kits, like the Tamiya kits, the Kotobukiya kits, you name it, they have it. Having to build different branded kits seriously will give you a interesting and refreshing perspective when you're building your next GBWC winning entry. I think you should definitely take a look at building some other branded kits like the Tamiya kits, Kotobukiya kits, and even the 5-star story kits if you are feeling adventurous. Okay, so I've been rambling on and on. Now I'm going to tell you which are my top 3 favorite setup that I've seen from all the entries so far. By far and large, this entry that I'm going to be talking about is seriously amazing. When I first saw these pictures, I was seriously blown away. And this setup, look at this setup, okay? It's coming out right now. This setup is not only very neat, but this one from Aussie0083, it looks like a proper garage setup, right? It is big, it has a exhaust fans, a proper setup rack for his paints, and you even have his Bluetooth speakers set up on the top as well. So everything is set up properly, the tools on the left and the paints are on the right, and he built right in the middle and he airbrushed right in the middle as well. So that is actually quite an amazing setup, and I really love his Fender Bluetooth speaker as well, because I have the same one. So that's actually quite a kick-ass speaker. The next setup is from this guy, this Nipcom Nakaza. His setup is so messy, but at the same time it looks so neat as well. Every single box and every single build is all neatly tied in a very compact and small room. So this entry, seriously, I mean, it just looks seriously amazing. Not because it's a big room, but he manages to cram so much into one small little space. So I was just really blown away, right? So I guess maybe if you guys are thinking, hey, I'm really getting some very cool inspiration here, maybe I should rethink. Here's some example of how the Japanese models actually pre-plan their workspace before they actually rearrange everything. So good luck to you guys in setting up your next workbench, and we hope you enjoy seeing this video from us, because this is something a little bit different from what we have used to put up. So if you love this content that we're putting up, please like, share, subscribe. You know the usual drill, right? See you down in the comment section down below. Alright, thank you.